We're back from the break and we're rocking and we're rolling.
And we're dancing away. We haven't got our dancing shoes on now.
No, we haven't, but I'd like to have my dancing shoes on. Why do we not dance more in this country? Why isn't dance more popular? Why don't we have more shows? Why can't I go to the theatre? Why can't my children go to the theatre? Why don't we have pantomime?
Listen, as with all art forms that are existing in Pakistan, they are still existing for the elite because culture and art is going to be...
They're intertwined.
Yes, they are. Yes. Culture and art and dance, of course, being a part of it, are not going to be something lucrative that an average middle-class person can take up or even enjoy as a hobby. Think about it.
Well,
can you just
I think
enroll in a class?
Well, I think what's happened is that over the last 30 years, 30 years, we have made it such a social taboo to do anything which is physically expressive, that any kind of economic benefit that was to be had is now lost because it is now shunned. It is shunned by the general public.
Whoever is making an effort is not going to do it.
It will not be lucrative, and it is seen as an anomaly as opposed to a part of our mainstream society and an expression of who we are.
Which is available to all sections of society.
And which is an expression of who we are as a nation.
Yes, because look at all the weddings that we do. I mean, if dance wasn't part of us, then there wouldn't be so much dancing.
Well, our heritage is Kathak. Our heritage is Kathak. It must be all kind. I mean, if you think about the Mughal history we have, if you think about even our history before that, before the Mughals came in, if you think about all the
beautiful expression
that was, and so much of that is lost now.
I think on that note, let's go take a look at this segment that we prepared for you, and I think let it speak.
Dance means, for me, it's my spiritual expression. A lot of people look at dance as a very physical manifestation of yourself, even for people who dance as well, who even learn dance. But for me, it's been a journey within, taking me to the inside of myself. I think it's coming to Pakistan with dance. It's been a tough, journey coming here and trying to get dance to people in Pakistan and the youth and the young children. That has, it's a challenge here for me as well. Apart from the journey, the whole of my dancing for me has been spiritual. It's brought me that patience to be able to be in a society that requires that kind of challenge, because you have to really, really be tough, and you have to take the negative aspects of it with a positive salt, pinch of salt. Classical dance is like a university. I do Kathak, which is a form of classical dance. I think in Pakistan, a lot of people look at every style as just classical dance, but they're within classical different styles. Well, I did modern dance for 10 years. I grew up in London. I did classical Western ballet, and I wanted to be a ballerina. That was my choice. I was 3 months when I went to London, and I started doing ballet when I was 5 years old. And I really, really wanted to be a ballerina, but my family was not happy with that. And somehow, I don't know how I came to Kathak. It just, maybe because I was in London, I didn't know about Pakistan. I think that whole journey that I was talking about in the beginning, about my spiritual journey and the finding of myself, because doing Kathak brought me back to Pakistan. If I stayed in Western ballet or modern dance, I wouldn't have come back to Pakistan. So I think that there's a purpose in the whole thing of me moving to Kathak. That brought me to Nighat Chaudhry. Nighat Chaudhry's link brought me to Pakistan. I don't think we've arrived at that level that I can say that it is a form of expression within the society. I think people who come to see dance, or the practitioners of dance in our society, there's a big divide, because the people who come and see may not want to do it, but will want to see it. And the people who are doing it are facing the struggle or facing that opposition of children wanting to come to class to learn, but not to perform, not to be seen, not to wear ghungroos, not to, So when I think that's a very evolved question right now. I think we're still evolving with dance. And I feel that what dance was before Zia-ul-Haq's period, they were very alive and they were performing all around the world. Nighat Chaudhry was also performing Kathak as solos. So when Zia's period came in, we had a whole slump. We had a whole ban on dance. It's not a form of expression. We cannot identify with it. We do not choose to make it part of our culture, even though the dancing girl 5,000 years ago, the actual evidence that we had a dance structure or a dance posture that actually gives evidence that there was dance in this area. Dance came back. We had asked her to put it back on television. The ban from television was lifted. So it became part of, people becoming part of a culture, maybe a process of being re-lit, re-brought back into society for people to actually relate to it. We're in a process of bringing dance to its importance. It's important for the practitioner who's doing it because, they learn, we learn. People like Nighat Chaudhry, people like Fasur Rahman who have struggled, people like Shima Kirmani, people like myself who've been through those times of giving dance the respect, the importance, the fact that it is important to society. And the viewers who come and see it, or the audience that comes and sees us perform, whether it's stage or whether it's television, that they would not want their daughters to, I won't say all of them, but mostly, that they would not want them to perform. They can't wear ghungroos. They're so, it's all under the carpet. There's a kind of push and pull about how it's going to actually settle in back as an identity. It's very powerful. I think it's just so powerful that it also scares the religious sector of people or the fact that it's got a Hindu root. But the truth is that Pakistan has a Hindu root in the sense of that geographically or as society, as even ancient roots are not Muslim roots. So we've evolved to Muslims. So I think there's all this fear of losing our identity, the so-called Muslim religious identity. So we're confused about the Muslim religious identity to the social cultural identity. There's a conflict going on. So that's why all the performing arts are undergoing a strange kind of getting pushed at, getting pulled back in. It's a strange tug of war. So it's like a process, like politics in our country. It's a process. It will eventually, if we choose to stay in and fight it and keep on with the fact that we're going to keep the presence of dance here. The importance will always be there. Every opposition against me made me work harder. They stopped my money. They stopped my, because when I came back to Pakistan, they were very upset. When I was in London, they were fine because they knew the taboos I didn't know. So my father and my mother and my father were like very concerned. If she goes back, she doesn't know what Pakistan society is like. What would the family say? So I had the family opposition. But I've overcome it. But it drew me and it made me work harder. I got a scholarship from London. I applied. I joined British Airways. I struggled there for a year and a half, saved money, put 5 lakhs together, wanted to go to India. I had chosen a school, Kathak Kendra, which I had learned from, after Nighat Chaudhry, I was learning from Pandit Durgalal ji. And I wanted to go to India because I knew that in Pakistan now I had done my bit with dance and I needed to move on because there's only to such a level you can grow. And dance to me is something that's very sacred. And look at my costume and look at the way I have a veil on my head. My costume sleeves up to here, we're up. I'm not like what they do in the films here. Why don't you stop that disgusting dancing that's happening in films? And why don't you stop all the kind of disgusting stage shows? You don't do that, but you stop the beauty. You want the actual beauty of our dance to stop. You can't stop that. Why is all the sexual misconduct that's going on, all that's actually not good for our society and is not really helping in any way. It's not enhancing the human being in any way. It's not considered a respectable profession at all. I think that the reasons for this are very, very deep because historically, if we look at the courtesan and the fact that we do not understand the actual role of the courtesan and the fact that dance was done by dancing girls and singing girls, and in the times of the British it became something that degraded it from an art form. It became an enticing, titillating to get the British people in because the British soldiers couldn't understand a thumri, which is a romantic lyric that's repeated with expressions, or a ghazal. They didn't understand the nuances as the Nawabs would, or the kings would, the patronage. So it kind of degraded it. It started falling. It started becoming falling art. But it's not an easy journey, and I think what happens is that one of my students felt that it's a lot of hard work in a country where there's also no return, because you're ridiculed at stages. You have to go through that. You're humiliated. You're made to feel that you're either a prostitute or you're on the wrong side of the barrier of the divide of society. You're not easily accepted. You're approached differently. So you have to go there. I mean, I've been through these things. So this is not something I'm saying from the top of my head. I've dealt with it, but I've taken it. I mean, I'm beyond this. Okay, you could get angry and stuff like that. So I have realized that a lot of girls also feel, our parents will not allow us, and how can we really take this up as a career, and does this really economically feed us? There are all these questions, It's like if you're doing a job, you get paid for it. So they feel that, that it's not really something that's financially feasible as well, and there's so much hard work in it, and the return is not so good. So I can see that with my previous students when I was in Karachi, that there was an issue. I've set up my NGO, which is called the National Dance Foundation. And I've decided, instead of complaining and becoming bitter, I don't want to become bitter. I don't want to become a complaining person, that this is not happening, this is not happening. So I'm now, like I said, I am putting up projects of my own. I'm working on documentaries, I'm working on workshops on the platform of my foundation. I'm speaking to some choreographers in India to bring them in for Kathak workshops on a regular basis. I'm actually seriously working on this. Okay, if I don't do it now, it's going to be too late.